What's this, the clogging? What does... I don't know what... The 11th annual dance parade here in New York City, and as we're watching now on screen, you can see the Sufi whirling dervishes, who is a dance, and it's a form of dance originally performed by the people from the dervish community in Istanbul, Turkey. And this group believes that the closeness with God is achieved by this kind of elaborate twirling that we're seeing here. And they're wearing this white dress. It's probably not a dress, but there's also a headpiece. And it's actually a form of physically active meditation, which can kind of sound a little bit confusing. But as you can see, because of this twirling, it has that physical component, and it originated among the Sufis in Turkey. It's a customary meditation practice performed with the sema, and is actually a worship ceremony. And they aim to reach the source of all perfection, so through this kind of dance that we're seeing here, one aims to abandon one's ego or personal desires by listening to the music playing and focusing on God and spinning one's body in repetitive circles, which has been seen as a symbolic imitation of the planets and the solar system orbiting in the sun. So it's all very symbolic. It's very tied to the culture and the religion of the dervish community in Istanbul. And only recently we've seen, even in Egypt, they've started to adopt a similar dance of this twirling, but they incorporate more colorful costumes compared to just the plain white attire that we see now.
Yeah, and I think that this is an appropriate way of starting this event. You are actually watching NTD's broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival, and this is an event organized by the Dance Parade, Inc., a nonprofit art services organization whose mission is to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form by showing all kinds of dance styles out there.
Right. And as you can see, there's a lot of people coming up now. The event has just started, and we'll run you through just the route of this parade. It goes from 1 to 3, and it will start on 21st Street and Broadway, which is in the Flatiron area if you guys have visited New York. From 1 to 3, it'll make its way down south towards the East Village region, bypassing the grandstand at Astor Place, where people can actually buy tickets, sit down and watch the spectacle as around 10,000 dancers and 80 styles of unique dance styles will actually be showcased throughout this parade. And as you can see now, we're just watching one of the dervish community dances, also known as the Sufi whirling style of dance.
I'm just amazed at how they can keep twirling like that without getting dizzy.
Yeah, actually, when I used to do ballet, there's a technique. It's called spotting. So when you twirl, you actually focus on one point, and every time you go around, you still focus on that one point, and it keeps you from, getting dizzy.
Right, and this actually, because this is a form of a physically active meditation, that's why I guess through the twirling they can achieve some kind of peace.
Right. And, dance is an expression. It's a form of art. It's very ingrained in culture and tradition. And I think it's really exciting to see so many styles of dance coming from every region of the world, every country. And most of these I haven't even been able to see before.
Yeah.
And we can hear the music now, actually. So an interesting fact is that this dervish whirling dance was traditionally only danced by the men.
Okay.
And only recently we can see the women are allowed to dance.
And in addition to the Sufi whirling dervishes, we will be able to see close to 10,000 dancers parading down Broadway at Union Square here in New York to showcase more than 80 unique styles of dance in the world's largest display of the diversity of dance.
Yeah, so the theme for this year's annual dance parade is Dance for Peace. So we can see each dance represents a different story, a different historical landscape and background. You know, some dances were formed in not so great situations, like hip hop, for example, whereas other dances they just all tell a different story. Yeah.
And I think in modern times, you know, people normally dance just for fun, just to go out and have fun with their friends. But then, you know, back then, maybe in some traditional dances, they originate in different kind of situations. So it's just going to be really interesting to see all these different types of dances and how they originate in the first place.
Yes. Yeah, so an example of, you know, the not... Oh, sorry, we're just tuning in here.
Community centers and schools in all 5 boroughs. Many are here today to finish their year with dance parade participation. The parade, yeah, let's hear it. The parade will go down across to Astor Place, where there's a grandstand, and end with the festival in Tompkins Square Park. We hope that you join us for free dance lessons and everything dance from 3 to 7. I have the distinct honor today to welcome our 4 Grand Marshals. Grand Master of Capoeira, Mestre João Grande.
Obrigado! Axé!
Maurice Hines.
Hey everybody, I'm so honored to be here. Whenever I'm with dancers, I'm in heaven. And also I know while I'm standing here, my brother Gregory is right with me. So thank you so much. It's going to be a fabulous, fabulous afternoon. Thank you.
And now I'd like to have a few words from our media sponsor, NTD TV, who you can watch live streaming at ntd.com/live. Go there and watch the parade on many cameras. Jan Lekovic.
We're just really thrilled to be able to digitally broadcast the dance parade with this theme of Dance for Peace, which is so fantastic, resonates so well with what we're doing. I'm going to repeat to you where you can get it. It's on NTD Television. That's the Facebook page, NTD Television, or ntd.tv/live. There's 80,000 people I hear that are going to watch this in New York City. We're going to extend that with your help to hundreds of thousands more people. The world will get to see Dance Parade live. Thank you.
And I'd like to recognize also John and Leo Manzari, who will be tap dancing later today. And they've been many years with Maurice Hines around the world performing, and you can see them at about 4 o'clock in the park, Tompkins Square Park. Thank you, guys. And finally, we have a message from Mayor de Blasio, and I'd like to welcome Gabrielle Don Alel, Director of Community Affairs for the Mayor's Office.
Hi everyone, it's a pleasure being here with all of you and Council Members Kalos and Mendez. I just want to thank you all, especially the organizers of the dance parade, for bringing everyone together for a message of peace. And I hope you guys have a ton of fun today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And now, Dance for Peace!
Okay. All right, guys, so as you could see, that was the official start of the 2017 Dance Parade here in New York City. So they just cut the ribbon, and at the opening, there was Greg Miller, who's the founder and executive director of the Dance Parade, as well as Janja Kellick, who was saying that NTD is partnering with Dance Parade to broadcast this live for you guys watching.
Yes, if you just tune in, you're watching NTD TV broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival, and we just saw the ribbon cutting ceremony followed by the 1 minute moment of silence for those who cannot dance. And this year's parade theme is Dance for Peace, which is very appropriate because the organization's mission is to promote dance as an expressive form art
expression.
form, and also unifying at the same time, because they're going to be showcasing about 80 unique styles of dance from around the world and from any different era.
Yeah, so let's hear a little more from the founder and executive producer, Greg Miller. One of our reporters, Holly, is with him right now, so let's hear Greg.
So I'm here with Greg Miller. He is the founder and executive director of the Dance Parade. So Greg, what was the impetus and what is the goal of the parade for you?
The impetus, I suppose it started about 11 years ago, and it was actually a reaction to the state Supreme Court ruling that said dance was not expressive, and therefore the cabaret laws, the anti-dancing laws, kind of continue. You need to have a license to dance in a lot of the restaurants and bars from Prohibition times. So that's how we started. We said, hey, we're expressive as dancers. We want to show 80 unique styles of dance. And that's why everything you see today will be very unique and different cultures, kind of a United Nations of dance.
So you have 80 here today?
Yes, we have exactly 80. I counted them all. I have the program here, which is kind of crazy. You can see in the very fine print.
Oh yes, wow. You've got a lot of groups. I see 167, is that right?
That's right, and every other one will be a unique style of dance.
That's great. Do you know how many people you're expecting total today?
Close to 10,000.
Wow, okay. And is it growing? Is this a bigger number than last year?
It is. We do have a lot of Chinese groups actually, and that is growing. We try to keep it at 10,000. It's a nice round number, and it's the city's largest dance event. So we don't need to be like the largest of the largest. We just want to keep maintaining and keep the size. The theme this year is Dance for Peace. So that is something different and unique, and we're going to celebrate that by raising our hands in the air at 12:59 and kick the parade off at 1 o'clock.
That's great. Okay, and there's also a festival, right? Tompkins Square Park?
Right. The parade ends on St. Mark's in the East Village, and that is at Avenue A. And Tompkins Square Park is there with 4 stages and dance lessons and music and all kinds of wonderful cultural activities, site-specific dances. So you're walking around through the park and then you see, oh, what's that? Oh, it's Zimbabwe dance or something like that. So.
And if you miss the parade, that's going to be 3 to 7 o'clock, is that right?
That's right. So you can show up in Tompkins Square Park around 3 and there'll be music everywhere and you'll be dancing before you know it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Greg. We'll send it back to you guys at the studio and the parade.
All right, so that was our reporter Holly with Greg Miller, who is the founder and executive director of Dance Parade. So for those of you tuning in, this is NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th annual Dance Parade here in New York City, where 80 unique styles of dance and around 10,000 dancers have come together. They're all gathering now in the Flatiron area on 21st and Broadway. We can see all these colorful costumes, people of all ethnic and cultural backgrounds gathering here to showcase their expressive form of dance. And who says dance is not an expression, right?
Dance is totally an expression of just your personalities, your feelings, what your mood is at that time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he said that this is actually a reaction to the state Supreme Court ruling of the, the cabaret law, where, it said that you have to have a license to dance in public places, especially when you're a group of 3 people or more. And that's just unthinkable.
Yeah, I mean, I go to a lot of restaurants and there's people dancing in that, with like belly dancing, which we actually will see throughout this parade. Just to list out some of the dances we're going to see, there's Asian dances like Korean, Tibetan, there's a Chinese dance, drum waist dance, but also hip hop, contemporary kind of funk step dancing. So all across the board from all ethnic and cultural backgrounds we're going to be able to see today. And there's a mixture of dancers who are going to be traveling on foot, showcasing their distinctive styles in their costumes, as well as floats.
Actually, aligning with the dances that we are going to be seeing in our broadcast today, I just want to give a shout out to our audience who's tuning in from around the world. We're getting some greetings from all these different areas in Tennessee, Chicago, Mumbai, India, Germany, Florida, Toronto. Do you want to continue?
I mean, this is truly such an exciting event, because what other way to invite people of all races and all cultures to come together, and especially in such a multicultural melting pot like New York City. So right at the beginning now, people have just started on their way. So just to announce the parade route, they're starting on 21st and Broadway, making their way down south to Astor Place, where there's a grandstand, and members of the public are able to actually buy tickets. They range from $30 to $100, where they can see all the dancers on stage, and then they eventually make their way over to Tompkins Square Park, where there'll be workshops and classes for those who are interested in learning specific dances. Like, for me, I really wanted to know how to ballroom dance and salsa, because it just looks so sensual, It's like so fluid. I love that kind of dance, and we're going to be able to see all those techniques, and we'll be telling you guys a little bit about the historical backgrounds, some of the techniques that each of these groups use, because I don't know, being able to isolate different parts of the body is not something that I can do.
Yeah, for me also, I feel like I have 2 left feet.
Yeah.
But if I were to learn something if I could choose, I would probably want to choose step dancing, just because it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
And all that footwork, man, is so complicated.
It's true. And so many of these dances, while we were reading up on just a bunch of them, like step dancing, Irish, capoeira, more modern styles, everything is so centered on the techniques of how you move your foot and how, you move with the rhythm of the music and what kind of aura that creates, which is so interesting. Did you ever do dance when you were younger?
I did ballet when I was younger, but that was, I don't know, when you're younger, I think I was more flexible back then. So maybe I was able to absorb. More nimble for sure, and I was able to kind of absorb what the teacher was teaching me. But at the same time, I don't know, it was like...
You do what you can. Yeah, when I was young, I actually did contemporary ballet and jazz and Chinese classical, with the fans, and gymnastics. So this is actually really exciting to see, because, you know the basics of it, generally what they're trying to do, but in knowing and actually performing it is 2 different stories.
It's like, it looks much better here in my head, but then when I'm trying to execute.
Right. So for those of you tuning in, the 11th annual Dance Parade here in New York City has just started. They just had an official ribbon cutting with the founder and executive director, Greg Miller. This is the 11th year, which is crazy. You know, they're inviting around 10,000 dancers of all cultures and ethnic backgrounds to fill the streets of New York. The parade will run from 1 to 3, but it's okay because the festivities keep going at Tompkins Square Park from 3 to 7, where members of the public are able to join in classes and workshops to learn just how to dance.
Yeah. And staying true to the organization's mission to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form, I feel like this event is a very well curated event because they have, you know, dance style from just so many different areas in the world, different times, different era, you know, so that people from all generations can enjoy it just as much as each other.
Right, and we can see already there's so many vibrant colors, different costumes, all these headpieces. I was a little worried that this morning there was a little bit of drizzle because we've had a heat wave in the last 2 days. But you know, that doesn't stop the energy and all that with the dances.
Not at
Look
all.
at these skirts.
You can definitely see the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And okay, this is also an interesting fact to mention is the fact that they have dance police going around the parade route. And so if the spectators are not dancing, they'll give you a ticket for not dancing.
Yeah, so let's hear a little more about that from our reporter, Ben, who's actually with 3 of these dance police.
Hey guys, I'm here with the official dance police. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Special Officer Susie Hoops.
I'm Sergeant Step To It. I'm Sergeant Jedi.
So tell me what you guys do.
We police the spectators at the dance parade, and anyone who is not dancing or who is not having a good time or who's not dancing in step to the music gets a citation to do all of those things that they're not doing, and also they are invited to the after party this evening after the parade.
So what happens, so when you give someone a citation, what's the next process? Do you bring them outside, like in the parade? Or?
Well, there's a couple of things. So when we give them a summons, but it's really like a ticket to, wait, what is it now? They changed it. I think it's a ticket to take a dance class.
I think it's just the after party.
Oh, the after party. Okay, so it's a ticket to the after party. So, you know, so you can join everybody and have a good time. But it's also to motivate and get people involved in dance. You can dance anywhere. That's what it's about. It's freedom of expression. You shouldn't have to have a license to dance. This is your body. This is what you do. You could dance anywhere. Dance on the subway, dance on the sidewalk, dance in the store, doesn't matter.
And how many years have you guys been doing this?
Well, I've been participating in the parade since 2010 as a hooper. This is my first year volunteering with the parade.
Wow. And what about you?
I'm a natural-born dance police woman. Whenever I go to a club or whatever, I'm basically, you know, inviting people to join me. But this is my first official year as Sergeant Step To It. And I'm going to give people citations for loitering, holding still, and otherwise not having joyous time. So this is my first year as dance police, but I'm actually in a special unit. So I'm the sound warden. So I'm in charge of the sound levels before the parade and during the festival. But I've been involved in the parade as a dancer for the House Coalition float since the first year, 11 years ago, and every year since I danced. House dance, disco, things like that.
All right, so you guys listen up. Better start dancing or they're going to come after you.
You get a citation.
I'm sorry, we got to...
All right, back to you guys in the studio and the parade.
Thanks, Ben. So that was our reporter, Ben, with the New York Dance Police. And just to reiterate, they're ticketing folks for not dancing or not showing like they're having fun. And they'll be issued or summoned to
an after party
where they will be put to the test.
I mean, it's hard not to have fun in this event, in my opinion. You know, just seeing all these colors, all the smiles from these people's faces and their enthusiasm, especially from the dance police. You know, you look at them and then you just have the smile from on your face. So That's not a hard thing to do.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, this is the 11th annual dance parade here in New York City, where thousands of volunteers have actually come together to put this parade in full force, and we're going to see 80 unique styles of dance from all around the world, from Asia to Europe, and then just be able to see that in our own eyes, because I haven't been able to experience or even try many dances other than, what have I done? Jazz and ballet as a child, right? As we were talking about before. And today we're going to be seeing dances like stepping and Irish stepping, all the way to like tango, flamenco, roller disco, where where they're on rollerblades. And I mean, this is a true testament to them, because they're going from 21st Broadway all the way to East Village, the heart of East Village in Tompkins Square.
And according to the organization that was in charge of this parade, there are several reasons for them to dance. You know, one is for cultural equity. This is why they represent all kinds of dance, all types of dance from around the world, for all, people from all ages. Also for emotional and physical health. Dance expresses identity. It rejuvenates bodies and minds. At the same time, they also organize classes around the city. So for people who are interested in taking dance lessons, they can do so. And last but not least, they dance for freedom and peace.
Yeah, so right at the beginning, we just saw the official opening of this parade, where actually we could see the Sufi whirling dervishes. And this dance is performed originally by people of the dervish community in Istanbul, Turkey. So it's just one of the countries that it's not commonly shown. And this group believes there's a bondage and a closeness between this dance and with God as well. And it's a form of physical active meditation among the Sufis in Turkey. So we're seeing that, and the iconic movement is the twirling and swirling. We can also see drums, and there's actually more than 2 groups that I know that are actually performing with the accompaniment of drums. There's also a Falandafa waist drum group a little bit later on, so we'll see that as the parade continues on, because it's officially started at 1 o'clock, so around 20 minutes ago, and it will run on until 3 p.m. So if you guys are in the streets of New York City, you'll be able to witness this through the heart of East Village, but right now it's making its way down south from Flatiron, which is Midtown New York.
I feel like this event is taking you around the world in just, 2 hours.
Around the world in 60 seconds. No, it wasn't 60 seconds. Yeah, there's just so many different cultures, backgrounds, and dance is, an expressive form of art. So we're going to see traditional folk dances all the way to contemporary styles like stepping, hip hop, and also from the Polynesian and the Caribbean areas. And it's just something that we're not able to witness very often. So we're gonna now take a listen to this drum line that's happening.
Is this Dance of Universal Peace?
No. All right, so now we can see there's groups from, there's gonna be 10,000 dancers on the street, and what we're seeing now is just one group who is performing a dance with the accompaniment of drums. And it's really interesting because dance is so naturally synced with the music that's going on in the background. And the music is going to be played on the floats, on some of the floats throughout the parade. Otherwise, there's other forms of dance where their music is created through the body, like tap dancing, creates their own rhythm, or Irish stepping, or stepping in general. And we can see members of the public starting to gather around the sidelines of the street of New York just to see what's going on.
Now, are all of them dancing? If not, they're going to get ticketed.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great way to encourage the public to get in on this, you know, like to have a good time. Dance is often celebratory. It often represents meanings of, you know, historical meanings, but also it's just a really fun way to enjoy culture. And as we're seeing now, the dancers will be making their way through the streets of New York City, and we're going to be seeing 80 different cultures and ethnic dances.
Which one are you most excited to see?
What am I most excited to see? I'm just really excited to see how they seamlessly incorporate their dance while moving through this parade.
That's
you know?
true. That's true.
For 2 hours.
Okay, when you're drumming, that's still possible, but then if you keep whirling, that's a challenge.
I mean, look at these costumes that we're seeing here right now. It's so energetic, so vibrant, and it's so symbolic of each country and what they stand for. Are these people? I mean, when you choreograph a dance, you only keep in mind that you're going to be in one certain area, right? But with this dance parade, they're actually going down the streets of New York City continuously. And so it's amazing how they incorporate and design this choreography.
I just love the costume of this group. There's that tall hats, different colors, and the colors are really bright and vibrant. You can see different texture and pattern. It's just a feast for the eyes.
Totally. And we're going to see so many other costumes from all different cultures and countries that you may not be familiar with. But it's such a great way because it symbolizes New York. Because there's just people from all around the world, you know, there's groups. And what a better way to showcase your own culture and your traditional roots than through dance, through Midtown Manhattan. And we have another group here with really interesting, colorful costumes. Looks like some sort of dress with a headpiece. All right, so now we're going to head over to the capoeira dance. We're going to head over to the interview with a Latin dance.
Hey guys, I'm with Nadia, and they're representing Bolivia. Nadia, tell me a little bit about yourself and the dance that you guys do.
Okay, well, our group is called Rupai. It started in 2008. We're a group that dances caporales, which is a traditional Bolivian dance that originated, as you know, folks were kidnapped into slavery back in the day. Not a lot of folks survived in Bolivia because of the adverse weather, so they enslaved their own indigenous people. Out of that, they selected a few folks who were the capos, so the leads of folks who were enslaved. The dance is kind of to remind ourselves of our history and that this actually happened. We enslaved our own people. It's kind of a mockery in a way, but also celebrating the fact that we have overcome that. We're still a nation that's 70% indigenous with an indigenous president. So that's something to be really, really proud of. But we do this every day. We practice for hours and love to do it. We love our group. We're like a family.
So we're going to have a couple demonstrate for us, right? So, okay, great. All right, you guys, do you want to show us? Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
So this has like you were saying, roots in Bolivian culture then?
Yeah, every dance that we have, and they're different dances, but they're all rooted from different parts in our country's history. There are different types of steps and different reasons why we dance these things. Like I said, this is to essentially continue to live on the history that we have to acknowledge the things that happen in our country, whether they were good or bad. You know, and we kind of relive this. And as you can see, we do it in couples sometimes, but we have two different troops. So it's very inclusive and very fun.
What about the costumes? Are they also more traditional?
Yeah, so the pollera, so the skirts, traditional women in Bolivia, they still wear them. Obviously, they're much longer, they're a little different. And then the guy's outfit comes from the capo, so it usually, because of the boots, it's supposed to be very masculine, very manly, if you will. Whereas the girls are a little more delicate and kind of cute.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. That's wonderful, really great. All right, you guys, back to you guys in the station in the parade.
All right, thanks, Ben. That was our reporter, Ben, with Nadia, and they're representing one of the Bolivian dances. And as she said, the dance that they were displaying actually originated during slavery time when there was slavery going on in the country. They were actually taking indigenous people as slaves. So this dance is actually also to remind themselves of their history, kind of in a mockery way, but also celebrating the fact that indigenous people, they still prevail even after those difficult times.
Yeah, and it was interesting because she said traditionally the skirts that she was wearing, people in Bolivia still wear that, and she was it consisted of a mini dress with matching panties and skin color pantyhose and high-heeled shoes. So it's just an extravaganza of these different costumes and different styles of dance that we're seeing through this parade.
Now we're seeing a very interesting float over here.
It looks like a onesie, a very flashy onesie. So actually, if you're just chiming in, this is NTD's live broadcast of the 11th annual dance parade here in New York City, where 10,000 dancers have come together to display 80 unique styles of dance.
And the dancers will parade down on Broadway Street, making their way into University Place and St. Mark's. And the grandstand will actually be located on 8th Street. Around that area, they'll continue into the heart of East Village, and they will finish at Tompkins Square Park, where spectators can still see performances in the park for the next couple hours.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see these types of dance because it's rooted in culture and it's rooted in history of the different regions and countries that it comes from. So as we saw just before, it was the Bolivian dance, and you were saying it was connected to slavery, which is also true with the Capoeira dance when the Angolans came over to Brazil as slaves as well. So it's just interesting and fascinating to see how each dance has stemmed. And then you go over to more festive dances like the Irish stepping and things like roller disco. You know, it's like contemporary, spanning all the way to traditional dances that we're going to see. And look at these hula hoops and neon-colored costumes here. I don't know how they're gonna sustain moving through the parade with these moving hula hoops the entire way. You know, that's really interesting.
Well, you gotta really alternate between actually, you know, doing the hula hoop versus maybe throwing it up in the air or something like that. You just gotta play with it and then survive through the parade route.
Actually, it's interesting. Hula hoop is a really good exercise for the waistline.
Yeah.
I remember there's actually this Korean hula hoop that's designed to slim the waist. It's got these beads attached to the hula hoop. It's much heavier than what we're seeing, you know, what they're performing with now. But as it moves around your torso and waist area, it actually it claims to slim the waist. But dance is obviously a great cardio form. It's a great exercise and also a form of expression.
I was listening to your hula hoop explanation with the beats and everything. And to me, it just sounds so painful.
Oh, it was definitely painful because I tried it. You know, you hop on the trend and I wanted a slim, tight waist at the time, and there were bruises the next day.
Oh my goodness.
Body. You know, what we do for image. So as we're seeing, the people of New York are really starting to gather on the sidelines to witness this parade where 80 unique styles of dance are going to be showcased throughout New York City. The parade starts on 21st and Broadway in the Flatiron area. Oh my gosh, there's people on stilts right now. Wow.
Wow.
Wow. They must have a lot of belief, you know, to not fall.
How do you balance on stilts?
Wow, this is
Look at
really
that.
interesting. And we're going to be, you know, on top of just seeing the costumes and their traditional dance, there's a lot of floats where the traditional music is going to be coming from as well. Wow, look at this.
I mean, it's just amazing to see the passion of the dancers here.
Yeah.
And, you
It's
know,
almost like a Mardi Gras right
exactly.
now.
They're obviously really passionate about the dance and also want
Yes.
to share that with every one of us.
Yeah, I mean, dance is at the root a form of expression. It's art, it's culture, it's tied to history. There's a lot of roots within the moves, within the people, how it became the way that it is seen in the form. And there's just so many different vibrant colors we're seeing. So in the beginning, what have we seen so far? The whirling dervishes from Istanbul, Turkey. We saw Bolivian dance, and the parade is right on its way, traveling through south in New York City. So we can see this dance group is holding their flag. It just emphasizes the diversity of the groups and the cultures that we're going to be able to witness today. This is the Cuban group. Such interesting instruments being played, you know, the accompaniment of music.
And having this type of event in New York is such an appropriate place.
Right now we're hearing the music accompaniment is the cowbell. I used to want to play, what do you call it, drums when I was in the band.
Yeah.
And the cowbell was such an interesting, it produces such an interesting tone.
But what do you do with it? You just go...
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, it's like the triangle, you know, you don't...
Oh, the triangle!
It just kind of keeps it in beat, creates this rhythmic kind of energy.
But it's still an important, you know, it's an important instrument to keep
Yeah.
everyone on pace.
So right now we see the School of Irish Dance, and from what I know, Irish stepping is a very high energy dance.
And Irish step dance is actually characterized by an upper body, quick and precise movements of the feet. It can be performed solo or in groups, and male and female dancers perform Irish step dance, but for the most part in today's society, the dance remains predominantly performed by females.
Yeah. So they've moved on, and the parade is just really on its way. Each group is showcasing their traditional form of dance, and we just saw the Irish group, and you could see their costume was a white blouse and a skirt.
Oh, wow.
So I wonder how the dance police are doing, summoning people who aren't actively... Yeah. So actually, I want to know how the techniques of certain dances are performed. So we're going to go over now to an interview to see how... we're going to see the performance of clogging.
Welcome to the 2017 Dance Parade from NIA!
Performing their musical number. And it's interesting because some dances emphasize, you know, the unity, and everyone kind of does the same movement, whereas other ones are staggered, much like the one we saw just then. So, wow, So we're seeing a lot of different costumes and dances from all around the world, and 10,000 dancers have actually come and joined this parade. And if you guys are just tuning in now, this is NTD's live broadcast of the 11th annual dance parade here in New York City. It just started. It's well and truly on its way.
And it is an event that really showcases the diversity of dance types from around the world. And what better way of doing that other than doing it here in New York City, where it's actually a truly melting pot of different cultures from around the world.
So today we're going to witness, all these different types of dances that you may not have ever seen in your life. So we're actually going to look at a performance performed by one of the groups in the parade.
Welcome to the New York Dance Parade!
All right, so that was a form of tap dance, I believe. So we're going to see 80 different styles of dance from Europe and Asia, all around the world, to the Polynesian Islands, the Caribbean, and this is going on right now in New York City. The parade started at 1 p.m. And we're going to see just people of all races and ethnicities. So right now there's a pirate ship going down Union Square, which is almost the middle of the parade. So I wonder what pirates dance to, if there's a pirate dance.
And how do they even dance in the first place?
So as we can see, the dancers are accompanied with their floats as well. And it's just a really nice backdrop, It's so festive. So just before we saw some dancers on stilts. We saw the Sufi whirling dervishes, very new to me by far. I haven't seen a lot of these cultural and ethnic dances.
Yeah. And to me, I was under the impression that dance before was just, because it is a form of self-expression. So it's just to express your feelings or, when you're happy and when you're sad. But also the origins of these dances are really interesting to see. Some of them just depict, daily lives. Some of them depicted some maybe tough times that people went through at the time. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. So as you can see now, there are floats that kind of divide the parade up, and it provides a background for the dancers. It even holds some of the dancers and plays some of the ethnic music that they're dancing to. So what we're seeing is the 11th annual dance parade in New York City, where the theme this year is Dance for Peace. And what a great message to send.
Yeah. So far, from what you've seen so far, what do you like most?
I just really love seeing the costumes, and it's just such an exciting time to be able to see this kind of melting pot of people do their traditional dance. And it's interesting because all the dances that we're going to see today range from traditional to contemporary and modern. And we can see so many people are gathering here on the sidelines to witness. I wish I could be there. And thankfully, it didn't rain. It's just a little cloudy, which is actually perfect because we won't want them to be sweating up a storm out there. So the dancers are making their way down Broadway right now in New York City. And this dance looks like a form of hula.
Yeah, why don't, maybe once you're done eating, we can trade off.
So the hula originated, well, it's part of the Polynesian group. And this includes Hawaii, Tahiti, and a lot of other many islands. There's thousands of islands in the Polynesian area.
And then hula dancers usually perform to a song or a chant, and this is known as a mele. And oftentimes the choreography acts out the words and emotion behind that.
Right.
Hula instruments also accompany the dance, and these includes drums, rattles, and rhythm sticks. And it reminds me of just Hawaii, you know, it makes you want to go to Hawaii and then get to watch the performance right in front of you.
So let's find out a little more about the hula dance from one of the parade representatives.
Hi there, I am with Amanda Foster, who is a hula dancer. I'm going to let her pronounce the name of her group. What is it?
I dance with Napua Maikalani Nuioka.
Okay. She is from Brooklyn. This is her second year. She is going to show us a few basic hula moves. So, yeah, take it away.
All right, the first one I'll be doing is a kaholo. We're going to be doing this mostly when we're traveling down the street and need to move really fast, and it's a basic traveling step. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And one of the other common hula steps we'll be doing as we're traveling when we're not doing our actual dance is called a hela, which is a point, so that we can be moving down the street as we do it. And we'll be doing that while our other contingency is dancing Tahitian. So we're representing all of the Polynesian islands, or at least some of them, Hawaii and Tahiti.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amanda. And we will send it back to you guys in the studio and the parade.
Thanks, Holly. That was Holly, a reporter with Amanda Foster. She is one of the hula dancers that are joining the parade today. And it's interesting she showed us 2 different type of steps. And one of them is a step that will allow them to move down the street. And that's really important when you're on a parade.
Right, you need these transitional steps, otherwise how are you going to go all the way down this parade, you know? And that's interesting because it's all part of the choreography, and normally dance groups will choreograph their piece just keeping in mind that they're going to be on a stage, not a moving kind of road. So yes, that was the Hawaiian or the hula dance, which is part of the Polynesian group. And it's interesting because there are more than 100,000 islands in the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, we're now just gonna listen to some of the music and watch some of the dances going on.
And you can see that when it comes to traditional dances, you know, the kind of music, costumes, even the movements just represent their culture. And from, you know, Latin American, they're a little bit sexier and kind of more sensual compared to other areas.
Yeah.
So it's a really colorful display of different cultures.
Yeah, and as we're seeing here, there's a lady with almost wings. And there are floats interspliced into the parade to kind of divide the dancers up and also create a platform where dancers can also dance. So right now, the float that we're looking at is the tap I believe.
Yeah, and Maurice Hines is actually one of the grand marshals for this parade. Maurice is an actor, director, singer, and choreographer, and he's also known for his legendary tap dance performances on Broadway. He has a younger brother, Gregory Hines, who's also a dancer, singer, and movie star. He's also a Tony-winning actor. Oh, I love that song.
So that was Maurice Hines, and the float we saw just then was full of tap dancers.
Yeah, for those of you who just tuned in, you're watching NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival here in New York City, where 10,000 dancers parade down the streets of Broadway in Union Square, and they will end up at Tompkins Square Park, also in Union Square, giving up free performances.
Yeah, so the theme for this year's dance parade is Dance for Peace, and it's really interesting because we're going to see so many different costumes, so many different styles of dance, 80 unique styles of dance to be specific.
And dance just has so many different benefits. Not only it's a form of self-expression, but also it's good for your health, you know, physical and mentally.
Yeah, and as we can see, people of all ages, all ethnic backgrounds, all cultural backgrounds have attended today. And you know, you don't have to be fit, you don't have to look a certain way. Everyone who wants to express themselves through dance, and what better way to watch it all unravel here today.
No, the most important thing is for you to just enjoy yourself regardless of how you
move. Exactly.
Stilts are back.
The stilts are back. Wow.
You know, it's tricky to walk on still in the first place, but then when you happen to run into cobblestone streets, that's where the challenge just multiplies.
Like high heels taken to the next level. All right, so just a little bit about Dance Parade. It's a nonprofit organization aimed to encourage and educate people on dance. You know, dance is a form of expression, it's an art form, and it involves people of all ethnicities and cultural backgrounds. And actually, at the end of this parade, the end of the parade will be at Tompkins Square Park in the heart of East Village, where members of the public are able to join in on workshops, dance classes, and learn a little bit more about the culture and the people that we're seeing here today. So they're making their way down Broadway right now, bypassing Union Square Park. And what are we seeing here now? The Irish dance? Yeah, so the Irish dance is symbolized with a costume. It's a white blouse and a skirt. And actually, the designs of the skirt differ depending on whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level.
And actually for Irish step dance, there are two different types of shoes that the dancers are wearing. One is a type of hard shoes, which makes sound similar to a tap dance shoes. And the other one are soft shoes called gillies, which are similar to ballet slippers. Okay. Well, I think in a little bit we're going to head over to our reporter Holly, which is ready on standby to talk to Valerie. Valerie is a member of the board of directors of Mamaroneck School District.
So I I am here with Valerie Fight. She is a member of the board of directors for the parade and also an administrator of the school district of Rhinebeck. This is your first year doing the community engagement program?
Yeah, it's my first year, but it's not the first year of the program. We have a history with Dance Parade of really moving to senior centers, youth centers, and schools throughout the 5 boroughs. So right now we have 15 programs running, and mine is one of them, and I'm new.
Okay, and I understand the kids are in the parade today. How many do you have?
I'm thinking that from our district we'll have 50 people, hopefully most of them kids, and they're just beyond thrilled to be sharing Mexican dance. They're joining a Mexican dance company, Mazarte, and they're just like learning so much about culture and engagement.
Mm-hmm. And that's the goal of the programs, right?
Yeah, it's a really great thing. It's one thing to teach multiculturalism, it's another thing to show it and do it. Mm-hmm. And this is all about the joy of doing it.
That's great. And how many do you think overall you have from community engagement programs here in the parade?
Well, probably over 1,000, and but there are many other thousands of children from community groups that are culture groups that share traditional dance, and there are a lot of kids from dance schools, and there are all kinds of dancers, so you'll see all sizes and shapes.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Valerie. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, so that was Holly, our reporter Holly with Valerie Wright, the member of the board of directors of the Mamaroneck School District.
Yeah, and they have a program where they teach school students to dance, and they introduce them to all these type of multicultural dance. And she was saying it's one way, it's one thing to teach them, but also it's another way to just show them what these dancers are. So I think that's a great way of introducing different type of cultures.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid, I would look forward to my dance classes so much. It's a way to make friends, it's a way to exercise, get the body pumping, and also stretching. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And I think, regardless of you're a good dancer or not, it doesn't really matter as long as you just have fun and then just move your body around.
Right. So we're seeing here now a New York City tap dance group on their float. And it's really nice to see that people of all ages are actually attending this parade. It's not just for people who want to display their cultural heritage or ethnic backgrounds, but it's also little children who are in these kind of dance classes. And what a way to show what they've learned for the year. It's like a recital.
That's true. And, they're having fun just the same. And we were seeing tap dancing earlier. There's actually 2 different kinds of tap dancing. One is rhythm or jazz tap, and the other one is Broadway tap. I don't know if you've seen that movie La La Land.
Oh, have I seen La La Land? That was probably one of the best movies of 2017. It's early on in the year, but I have to say that was one of the best movies I've seen. But a more classic one is probably Singing in the Rain, if you guys have heard of that one.
And actually, it's interesting to see how these popular movies, they just
have really propelled and popularized it, right? I think we can see that a lot with hip hop, things like So You Think You Can Dance or Honey. I love Jessica Alba in Honey. Have really just expanded the reach of a certain type of dance.
Definitely, and they reignited public's interest in types of dancing that people might not see or know.
Yeah, so along those lines, actually, because people are witnessing this parade unfold here in New York City, there are actually New York parade police who are issuing tickets to people who don't look like they're having fun or they're not active enough. So let's take a look at 3 of them who are with our reporter, Ben.
Hey guys, I'm here with the official dance police. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Special Officer Susie Hoops.
I'm Sergeant Step To It. I'm Sergeant Jedi.
So tell me what you guys do.
We police the spectators at the dance parade, and anyone who is not dancing or who is not having a good time or who's not dancing in step to the music gets a citation to do all of those things that they're not doing, and also they are invited to the after party this evening after the parade.
So what happens, so when you give someone a citation, what's the next process? Do you bring them outside, like in the parade? Or?
Well, there's a couple of things. So when we give them a summons, but it's really like a ticket to, wait, what is it now? They changed it. I think it's a ticket to take a dance class. Oh, the after party. Okay, so it's a ticket to the after party. So, so you can join everybody and have a good time. But it's also to motivate and get people involved in dance. You can dance anywhere. That's what it's about. It's freedom of expression. You shouldn't have to have a license to dance. This is your body. This is what you do. You could dance anywhere. Dance on the subway, dance on the sidewalk, dance in the store, doesn't matter.
And how many years have you guys been doing this?
Well, I've been participating in the parade since 2010 as a hooper. This is my first year volunteering with the parade.
Wow. And what about you?
I'm a natural-born dance police woman. Whenever I go to a club or whatever, I'm basically, inviting people to join me. But this is my first official year as Sergeant Step 2. And I'm going to give people citations for loitering, holding still, and otherwise not having joyous time. So this is my first year as dance police, but I'm actually in a special unit. So I'm the sound warden. So I'm in charge of the sound levels before the parade and during the festival. But I've been involved in the parade as a dancer for the House Coalition float since the first year, 11 years ago, and every year since I danced. House dance, disco, things like that.
All right, so you guys listen up. Better start dancing or they're going to come after you.
You get a citation.
Sorry, we got to...
All right, back to you guys in the studio and the parade.
Thanks, Ben. What a lot of fun. The Dance Police, who would have thought? For those of you tuning in, this is the Dance Parade in New York. It's the 11th annual Dance Parade, and the theme for this year is Dance for Peace. So what you're witnessing now or seeing on screen is 80 different cultures and ethnicities all coming together to showcase their specific dance.
And as the dance police said earlier, if you're not dancing, if you're not having fun, you will get a ticket and you'll get a citation to the after party.
Right. So we've already seen so many different ethnic groups showcase their dance. We've seen Irish, we've seen some stepping, dances from Turkey.
We even see pirates dance.
Pirates, people on the stilts, the dancers on stilts, and also the drumming. We saw a bit of drumming with the dancing as well. There's also some drumming coming up along the parade right now as well. So what you're seeing today is around 10,000 dancers coming to New York to showcase their specific style of dance. Let's just have a listen to some of the music going on. All right, so the dancers are going to make their way from the Flatiron area past Union Square, and there's floats as well as dancers interspliced into this parade, as a musical background, and they'll be wearing their costumes from the ethnic regions.
And this is actually really an event for people of all ages. You can see the different, some of them are more professional than others probably, but it doesn't really matter because they're all having just as much fun.
Yeah, I mean, dance is a display of culture. It's a display of history and expression, and it tells a story that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, right?
Right.
A lot of the dances, the traditional ones, are actually based off storytelling, and they would actually mimic out what would happen kind of like through story as an expressive form. But then you also go to more contemporary styles of dance where it's actually an incorporation of many different styles. And, there's hip hop, which includes tap kind of elements, and also contemporary elements and salsa elements. So it's just interesting to see how each region has created this movement and dance. So they're making their way through Union Square right now in their beautiful costumes. We see this gold kind of wing-like.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so vibrant. It's such a nice contrast, you know, of the red and the gold.
You can see that from a mile away.
Yeah. So actually, they're going to eventually bypass the grandstand in Astor Place, but they're making their way down Broadway, and right now they're in Union Square, which is around 14th Street, traveling downtown towards the East Village. And it's interesting to see that, you know, with the hula dancing that we saw earlier, there's transitional steps where they can actually move from place to place, but normally with choreography, you only think in mind of a stage and how you're going to fill the stage and the space within it. But they have to make their way down the streets of New York seamlessly and in sync. So that's really interesting.
Well, especially if you think about hula dance, you know, the first movement that you would think about is probably them going like this, you know, side to side, but they have to just keep moving. So.
Yeah, there's always these symbolic techniques. And earlier we saw, what was her name? The hula teaching us some moves. Amanda Miller.
So for those of you who just tuned in, you're watching NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival here in New York City. The dancers are making their way down on Union Square, and they're going to end up at Tompkins Square Park, where they will be giving you free performances of different type of dances from different regions. And if you're interested, you can stop by and then take some of the classes. So that music was really joyful. Are you able to tell kind of the mood that they're trying to portray based on the movements and their facial expressions?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting to look at how the costume, the music, and the movements all tie together to evoke a type of style of dance almost. Like you attribute an emotion to dance, and some of the cultures are more festive and more joyous, while others are more, you know, the sensual and slow and fluid, which all have historical backgrounds and meanings tied to it. Because dance is ultimately a form of expression, and that was one of the reasons why Dance Parade actually put this event together, because in the 1980s, there was 1920s in New York, there was a cabaret law that was restricting public dancing. So you're going to see 80 unique styles of dance travel down Broadway today here in New York City.
And actually, they put together this event, as you said earlier, in response to a court ruling prohibiting dance in public places, especially when you're a group of 3, unless that place has a license to allow people to dance. And, you know, back in the 1920s, 1930s, this actually what gave rise to speakeasies around the U.S. So people, when they want to go dance, they can't really do it in public, so they have to be hush-hush about it, and they have to have a certain code in order to enter these places. So I thought that was a pretty restrictive time compared to now.
All right, yeah, so I want to explore more about specific types of dances.
Okay.
Have you heard of clogging?
clogging the arteries?
Clogging the arteries? No. This form of dance is using the foot as a percussive instrument, kind of like tap dancing. So let's just take a look at this clogging style of dance.
Probably because they don't know what to say. Hey guys, I'm with Kaylee, Jocelyn, and Kyle from the Clogging Connection competition team. We're from Florida. So tell me a little, Kaylee. So actually, we're gonna have Kyle and Jocelyn do some moves for us while Kaylee's gonna demonstrate what they are doing. So Kaylee, I'm sorry, why don't I come around here? So Kyle, Jocelyn, go ahead. So tell me a little bit about clogging.
It's really similar to tap and Irish step dancing, and it has so many different things. It originates from the Appalachian Mountains, and I've been doing it my whole life, and we're really excited to be here for the National Dance Parade.
That's awesome, you guys. How many times have you been in the parade?
This is our first year.
Sorry.
Oh, this is our first year. We're so excited to be here.
Wow, that's great. So this is all of your guys' first year?
Yeah.
All of us. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Really amazing. So you guys must be really excited, right? How are you?
This is her first time in New York ever.
First time in New York ever, really? What do you think of New York?
It's really amazing. I've been to lots of tall buildings. It's really fun.
What's your favorite part so far that you've seen?
I like the view from the really tall buildings.
The view from the really tall buildings? That's great. So, well, wonderful, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful time in the parade, and congratulations being your first time here. So it's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, back to you guys and back to the parade.
So exciting. That was Ben with the Clogging Connection competition team from Florida, showing us a little bit about the clogging dance techniques.
Right, so clogging is actually often considered the first form of street dance because it evolved in urban environments during the Industrial Revolution. I just love that little girl's excitement and the enthusiasm of being in New York City for the first time, and she loves performing. She's done it her whole life. So that's what this parade is exactly for, for people to share their joy, to share their passion with everyone in the city and also around the world.
Yeah, and it's an expression of culture as well, to tell stories. And this is actually the 11th year that the dance parade has been held here in New York City. It started earlier in Flatiron area. They're now making their way down Broadway and bypassing Union Square Park. We can see such a vast array of different costumes, different countries and ethnicities, all showcasing their dance.
You can see them, some of them are really synchronized, and then maybe others, not so much, but they're all just expressing their own feelings.
Yeah, as a staggered kind of approach. Some are more whimsical and theatrical, whereas others are more, it's all about the formation and, things like tap dancing, everyone has to be in sync, on beat, whereas other styles of dance, it allows the individual to kind of show their own style and their own techniques, not in unison. So it's just really interesting to see all the different styles that you wouldn't be able to see anywhere else. And today we're able to see it all within one place, and there'll be 80 different styles of unique dance showcased today.
I'm just really glad that this happened today when the weather is somewhat more friendly compared to the last few days, because then they'll be able to have fun and not get scorched by sunshine.
Yesterday was definitely a scorcher. And there's just so much historical significance tied to each dance. It portrays a picture and a time of, a capsule in time from each country, whether it was from there was like slave dances that evolved from slavery, like the Brazilian form of dance. And oh, look at these little Bolivian dancers. So I believe this is the Bolivian dance happening right now. All right, so what you just saw there was the Bolivian group.
And we actually spoke to one of them earlier today, where she said that the dance is actually to remind themselves of their history, because it originated during slavery time, where a lot of the indigenous people actually were made to be slaves. It was it was reminding of them of tough times, but also at the same time, it is kind of to me, it's kind of like a victory dance, because, you know, they still prevail after all this time. So it's definitely a good way of just being reminded of your own history and to know where it's coming from.
It's coming from and where it's progressed to now, because they were saying they enslaved their own people, which is very interesting. So we're seeing another group coming along in really bright golden yellow costume.
I wonder what those things are on their hands.
Actually, this song reminds me of, I had a dance recital at the end of grade 6 in our graduation, and it was to this song. Very festive, brings back memories.
So were you doing those moves too, or were you doing something else?
No, I definitely was not dancing like them. I think I was, you know, put in the back. They didn't want us to.
I think it might be better to go back here, because this road, they're letting people cross, and that's why there's a delay. If we're up a little closer, we'll see a lot more groups up close. Let's go, check.
So we're seeing now there's floats as well as dancers on foot, playing the music that the dancers are moving to. And this is actually the NIA Community Center. So let's take a look at the dance that they are doing.
Welcome to the 2017 Dance Parade from NIA!
So you were just watching the NIA Community Center service. I think that dance for them has another benefit, which is to build camaraderies with their fellow students. So that's
And
just
friendships.
That's true too.
Yeah, and bonds. That actually really reminds me of jazz dance, because it's like a contemporary form. It's not really attributing to any technique in particular, but it's a modern type of dance. And it incorporates techniques and styles from tap dancing and more fluid and kind of like cheerleading movements almost.
So tell me about this dance recital that you had.
Well, that's not. No, it was actually really fun. I love dance because it's a form of exercise, and you know, if you're really in tune with the music, you kind of just move along with it naturally, you know. So a lot of the dances that we'll be seeing have things like drums, as well as, oh, look, here we have some salsa or ball dancing.
Look at that. They were dancing in pairs.
Yeah, almost like a form of ballroom. Ballroom is typically danced in pairs, not individually, because we need to feed off the man and the woman. And it's interesting with ballroom, there's an American style and also an international style, where the difference is the open arms, you know, how the couple embraces. That is often a characteristic that differentiates the American and the international style. And things like the waltz, the tango, the little things to the foot movement, you know, whether the leg is straight or whether it's bent, is a way that you can tell which style it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is that the kind of dance
So
that you want to
things
learn?
like, yeah, I mean, that's really interesting to me because it requires so much precision, you know. There's a lot of snappy kind of movements.
Yeah. And not only that, you have to also coordinate with your dance partner.
Yeah.
And so the chemistry is really important between
Yes.
the two.
Chemistry is the key word, I think, because with a lot of these other forms of dance, you know, you don't have to feed off just one person. It's not like a relationship. Dancing in ballroom and these more sensual kind of South American kind of dances, like you have to really feel the energy and know your partner really well to be able to evoke that type of style well. So we're seeing people of all ages come and join the parade here in New York City, and we're going to be witnessing 80 unique styles of dance. And there's about 10,000 dancers on the streets in this parade today, making their way down Broadway and past Union Square right now.
Right, and this is the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival organized by Dance Parade, which is a nonprofit arts services organization, and their mission is to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form by showing all forms of dance. And this year's parade theme is Dance for Peace.
I think it's just a great way for each culture and each ethnicity to really show what they're all about. So let's have a look here at the parade. So with dance, you know, it's tied to historical movements. There's a lot of significance in how each country, like how each dance blossomed from history. And I think what makes the dance even more interesting is the costumes obviously involved with it. And you can see now there's such vibrant colors. And look at this. Wow.
Wow.
So we're seeing a mixture of all sorts of dances from around the world today, from traditional to more modern styles of dancing and pretty much everything in between.
And I just think that, you know, for each of the different type of dance and how they originate, you can also try to figure out what the culture of that place looks like. I know for, you know, traditional Chinese dance, they believe that dance also is a form of, you know, being connected to the divine beings, because they believe that dance is a culture that is also brought down by human divine beings. So that's like, you know, you can tell the beliefs of one society from to another, and that's also a great way of just kind of taking a peek into how people live in the past.
Yeah, it's definitely a form of storytelling through their movements, through the music and the instruments they use, and of course the costume. Because even color creates a message in itself.
Right.
The colors that they use in each of their costumes and the designs.
I just love how the colors are so vibrant, and they're not shy, definitely, you know, because they mix and match really bold colors, bold texture, bold patterns. Really a feast for both the eyes and the ears.
Yeah. I just love how energetic they are.
All right, so the dancers were really energetic, but also at the same time, I was watching the people were watching from sidelines. They're not really dancing. What are they doing?
That means the dance police aren't doing their jobs well because they're not issuing tickets to the people who aren't actively engaged. Come on, dance police.
I think there was a sergeant step to it.
Yeah. What an
Really
applicable name. It speaks for itself.
I love the orange here. Okay, so for those of you, if you just tuned in, you're watching NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival here in New York City. And we're showing you footages from dancers parading down on Union Square. They're going to go through St. Mark's, and they will end up at the heart of East Village. They will end at Tompkins Square Park, where they will gather and present unique performances. So if you miss the parade, don't worry. Go to Tompkins Square Park later today and catch some of the performances.
Yeah, and this event is, as you said, the 11th annual event, so it's been going on since 2006. And Dance Parade is actually, the message that they're trying to teach is, you know, dance is a form of expression that any person from all ages can All right, so now we're seeing here now the Falun Dafa parade with a float in the back, actually.
That's quite a majestic float.
It's interesting they use the purple and the gold because they're on opposite ends of the color spectrum, so it, you know, really speaks out in terms of color. And as we said, color is obviously a message in itself. And what a beautiful float with a lotus flower on the top.
So Falun Dafa is a cultivation and meditation practice. It was first taught in public in China in 1992. Practitioners of the school of practice strive to apply the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. And actually, in just a little bit, we're going to head over to our reporter Holly, who will be speaking to one of the practitioners here.
And meditation is obviously beneficial for the mind and the body and the soul. It helps to instill, you know, a peace and serenity within an individual.
Right. And earlier, if we saw the whirling dervish group, they had a different form of meditation, which they call physically active meditation. So this is another type of meditation where it's more serene, more peaceful. So it is really a diverse display of different type of dances. Wow, this is quite a big group.
So So now they're doing one of the meditation exercises, which is standing, which is perfect to travel through the parade actually, because when we think of meditation, we often think that it's sitting. So let's take a listen to the music that's being played here. So that was a very peaceful music.
Right. It's very serene, and it provides such a contrast to New York City, a city that's hustling and bustling every single day.
Yes. But actually now they are followed by the waist drummers, the Falun Dafa waist drum team. So the waist drum is from Chinese folk and it's mainly performed in festivals and celebrations and just other happy public gatherings. And we can see, the gold costume is so captivating against the red and the green details. So the waist drums they were popularized in northern and central China, particularly in the Shanxi province. And the drums are being played in front of the abdomen, and they're strapped on by the waist with what seems to be that green, colorful silk ribbon. So let's have a listen right now. All right, so to tell us a little bit more about the Falun Dafa group and the drumming, we're going to head over to our reporter Holly, who's with Amir Talai.
So I am here with Amir Talai from the Falun Dafa group. So Amir, what is Falun Dafa?
Falun Dafa is an ancient meditation practice. There's 4 standing exercises and a sitting meditation similar to yoga, and it adheres to these universal principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance.
So the exercises you're talking about, is that what we're seeing behind us?
Absolutely. They're actually practicing the standing exercises, and you see them actually, 2 of the practitioners are actually doing the sitting meditation as well. They're fairly simple to learn, and there's videos on the falundafa.org website, but they really have significant benefit in terms of your health.
What are these practices? What do you call them?
The exercises. Well, there's 4 standing exercises. Buddha showing 1,000 hands, which is one of the exercises where you'll basically are stretching to open up energy channels.
Is this like Tai Chi?
It is similar to Tai Chi in that you might look at these exercises and see similar types of movements. The key here that differentiates Falun Dafa from some of the other Qigong practices or practices that you might think of in terms of Tai Chi is that it really refines what would be the Qi, the energy, to something which is higher level in terms of Gong. The reason is because it's not just a physical exercise, it's something where people try to improve their heart and mind nature.
That's great. Okay, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio and at the parade.
Thank you, Holly. That was a really amazing display of, the different meditation practice and also the waist drum team. I find them to be both, vibrant but also serene at the same time. It's weird.
Yeah, it's really great to see the diversity of the cultures and dance. I mean, we went from Irish stepping all the way to ancient meditation practice, which is more, slow and it's connected to kind of a higher belief.
We also saw the Bolivian dance earlier where they celebrate, or they celebrate their history.
So we're just seeing people from all around the world perform their dance in their traditional costumes. And there's more dancers on stilts. I wonder how long it actually takes to train someone to be able to not only walk, but dance on a stilt.
Right, it takes time and effort and dedication for sure.
Yeah, because it requires a lot of balance. And I think with dance as well, you need to have kind of this hand-eye coordination, you need to be able to feel the beat and the music and just be able to express that. Maybe this one's left behind.
It's like it's trying to make up some time and just catch up with the rest of the group. But you know, I believe to be able to just stand on stilt and also to walk on them, it requires such a, you know, you have to have a sense of balance.
It's the balance, right?
Oh my goodness, I don't have that at all, so I'm just doomed.
Even surfing through the subways on the train is already a feat for you. But it's interesting because to achieve balance in dance, you need like a strong core and strong discipline to be able to pull off these moves, you know, because the physique and the techniques require a lot of discipline. And I think dance is really good in demonstrating that type of discipline. It might look like very joyous and people are just having fun, but it actually requires a lot of practice. And I know for sure that just through my little experience, it takes a lot of time to perfect each technique and get it right. Especially when you're dancing in a group like this, you have to be unified, you have to all be on the same time.
Right.
And kind of know what your other dance partners are doing.
I think there's a saying that goes something like, you know, it takes 5 years of practice to showcase 5 minutes on stage or something along that line. So, you know, they make it look easy, but at the same time, sometimes we don't really see the type of effort and work that goes into preparing, you know, one type of performance.
Yeah, because when we see a performance go well, we're just like, wow.
Yeah.
So we're seeing here with this dance really lively footwork. And this is just one of the 80 styles of dance that we're seeing here in the dance parade here in New York City. This is the 11th year that it's been held, and it's traveling down Broadway. We're seeing just dancers from all ethnicities, all cultures, performing in traditional costumes. And it's just interesting that some dancers have danced to drums, some have danced to hula hoops, some are on stilts.
Some make their own instruments, like the tap dancers.
You're right. They create their own rhythmic beat that they dance to. It doesn't need percussive instruments or even music playing in the background. They kind of just use their body parts as a form of creating sound. Which is actually tied to the storytelling element of dance. So as a child, did you do any dancing?
I did ballet, and actually I also took some classes on traditional Indonesian dances. Wasn't the best.
Indonesian dance?
Yes.
Okay. What's that like? Balinese?
There's so many different style, even within Indonesian dance, because there are so many islands there. But if I remember correctly, I learned one of the Javanese dance. I think I got to perform it once, you know, when you're in elementary school. It was just, you know, you just like to have fun and you like hanging out with your friends. It's more like that. It's like you spending time with your friends outside of classes.
I think that's one of the great things that this parade actually highlights. It's a community event. It brings together friends and family and people of all ages to attend. What we're seeing now is the Bolivian group.
I like how they just utilize their costume to perform one of the movements in the dance.
Yeah, it's really great actually. The costumes are almost an extension of their dance moves.
Absolutely.
You know, it follows the movement of their arms and their legs, and yeah, it's just really great to see. So in this parade, we're going to be seeing 10,000 dancers, all within their groups, showcasing the diversity of dance and how it's a free form of expression, and how dance is really tied to traditional cultures and also even political roots.
Yeah, actually the Bolivian dance that we saw not too long ago, they contain elements from both the native and European cultures. It was also popular, especially amongst the young generation of middle and upper class who identify themselves with the caporals. This goes back to the history of enslavement, like she was telling us earlier before. For the male dancers, their dresses actually depict an old Spanish military guards with heel boots. And for the female dancers, they're wearing mini dress with matching panties, high-heeled shoes, and a round top hat pinned to their hair. Actually, that dance we saw earlier is pretty energetic. I would say that it's quite physically demanding.
Yes, definitely. It's exercise. Dance is exercise, and it's interesting because lately we've seen dance incorporated into physical exercises like Zumba and aerobic dance.
Yeah.
And Zumba, if you haven't come across it, incorporates Latin dance moves, salsa moves, as a form of exercise.
Have you taken any Zumba classes?
I actually had the Zumba CD. I loved it. And learned the basics of salsa, you know, the 3-step kind of thing.
I took a couple of Zumba classes before, but they were hard. They were not as easy. I mean, the instructor made it look easy, and you try to just imitate whatever they were doing, but at the same time, your brain just cannot process.
That actually reminds me of when we took Korean dance. On the outset, it looks really simple, you know, obviously because they're professionals and they do it really well, really fluidly. It's almost like second nature to them. But when you throw someone in who knows nothing about the techniques about dance, then it's a whole different story.
I think also to learn a type of dance, it's not enough just to look at the movements and try to emulate the movements and try to follow the movements, but at the same time you also need to try to understand the culture behind it, to really understand the culture and the people. That's when you can really channel the different type of movements.
Because actually each movement has a specific meaning. I remember in Chinese dance, you know, with the fans, you would do a technique and it would symbolize a meaning. And whole dance choreography pieces have a name and have a story behind that as well.
Yeah, so if you just tune in, you're watching NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival. And you're going to be seeing 10,000 dancers parading down on Broadway at Union Square. They're going to be heading over to Tompkins Square Park, where they will gather and then perform some of the performances for you. So if you missed it, don't worry, just head over to Union Square.
Yeah, and it's great because New York is such a diverse melting pot of different cultures and ethnicities, and what better way than to see that through dance today. So as well as dancers traveling on foot, there are floats interspliced throughout the parade. Some of the dancers, like the tap dancing team, were actually tap dancing on their float. And we also previously saw the Falun Dafa group, who was actually showing some meditation exercises.
And they also had a waist drum group, which I thought was really cute.
Right.
Because, you know, their colors are so vibrant and so bright, but they're, you know, playing this tiny drum on their waist.
Yeah, there's actually been several groups who have utilized drumming into their dance routine, which is really interesting because it creates this percussive, rhythmic addition.
Sound.
Yeah.
And when you think of drumming, right, the first sound that I hear in my mind is just like, you know, that rigorous sound and people are going, whoa, but then the one that we saw earlier, we saw different kind of drummings. So It's just really interesting. I'm really excited to see also the hip hop group. I don't think we've seen them so far.
Right, I feel like there's a lot of groups that we still haven't seen, but obviously this parade is quite large in span. It started at 1 and it's right now traveling through down south on Broadway in New York City. And in the middle of the parade at Astor Place, there's actually a grandstand where people of the public could pay for tickets to witness performances.
Yeah, those are the best seats to watch the parade today.
All right, so right now we're looking at some ballroom dances.
You better watch closely if you want to learn.
Will you take some ballroom dancing classes with me?
We'll see about that.
I just appreciate well-formed techniques, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's really hard. I mean, have you seen that TV show Dancing with the Stars?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But that just gives people hope, you know? Like, as long as you set your mind to something, you can do it.
You just have to be ready to have the
dedication.
Shoes. Also the shoes.
Oh, the
strapped on your
shoes.
feet.
Yes,
the whole
dancing
time.
shoes. All right, so this ballroom dance, maybe it's a waltz. And for those of you who aren't familiar with ballroom, there's actually 2 different styles of ballroom. One, the American style and also the international style. And there's some differences in between them, the techniques they use.
It's interesting. I wish they were wearing costumes.
Right.
But this is good enough. I mean, is this your favorite ballroom dance? Waltz? Or do you want a more dynamic, more energetic type?
Like the foxtrot, maybe? It's interesting because ballroom dance has a lot of competitive elements to it. Like you see, it's a couples dance where you feed off your partner and you depend on your partner to lead and also follow.
But also, I think from what I've seen in movies sometimes, as you make your way around the dance floor, you also change partners. So how does that work? You have to be able to work with everyone in that room.
Is that traditional?
I'm not really sure.
I've never seen that.
I think it's a really hard thing to do. I mean, working with one person and you have to build up the chemistry that already takes work.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you switch partner, you have to be also ready to go.
Yeah, and it's interesting within the 2 different styles of ballroom, you know, the American and the international, you can see the American has an open hold. So there's this kind of circular area in between the dances, whereas Argentinian tango maybe, they're almost
closer
side by side, no space in between. And this was because in certain areas that it developed from, there was a lack of space. So typically in the dance floors, there were a lot of people. So it just happened that they had to dance really close together. And so it eventually formed into this style of ballroom.
Yeah. And actually to be able to dance in a smaller space without bumping into each other, that takes skills as well.
Yeah. So typically in these international or American styles of ballroom dance, there's a traveling dance or smooth dance where the couple will dance around the floor counterclockwise in a smooth, fluid transition.
Okay.
So just another one of those differences is that with international styles of ballroom dance, the dancers will travel counterclockwise on the dance floor, and they'll be in these open arm embrace. And typically they won't separate from this.
Okay. So how do you tell the differences between American and international?
Oh, so there's actually quite subtle differences from things like, you know, the open embrace that I was talking about, to things like whether the foot is pointed and straight or whether there's a degree of flexibility and a bent knee. Even though they could be both doing the waltz or they could both be doing the tango, if you look at little subtle like details of the arm movement as well as the legs and the pointed, and whether they can actually separate will determine whether it's an American style or an international style.
That's so interesting. I mean, for the untrained eyes, they just all look beautiful and they all look really interesting and hard to, at least for me personally, it's going to be hard to learn, but at the same time, I guess it gives you a sense of achievement.
Yeah, so this is the ballroom dance that we're looking at right now. And this is interesting. We actually see people dancing in 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is happening there?
That's next level coordination right there. Wow, that's really interesting. Yeah, so for the people just tuning in, this is the dance parade in New York. It's their 11th annual dance parade where 10,000 dancers have come to the streets of New York City displaying 80 different styles of unique dance.
And this event is organized by Dance Parade, which is a nonprofit organization who has a mission to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form by showcasing all forms of dance. And you know, they dance for several reasons. One is for cultural equity, which means that represent all kinds of dance in the world's largest display of cultural diversity. Also for emotional and physical health, you know, because dance expresses identity, it rejuvenates the bodies and also your minds at the same time. They also have classes around the city, and they teach different type of classes in schools and community centers. And last but not least, they dance for freedom and peace, which actually is a really good thing. They are rooted in social justice and they stand up for all dancers.
Right, because people of all races and all ages should be able to dance and express themselves when they want to, right?
And I think, you know, for people who can't dance, who are not dancers, sometimes they feel a little bit self-conscious when they're moving their bodies. Like, I don't even know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my body.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
But it really doesn't matter as long as you're having fun. It's just like going to karaoke when you go singing. It doesn't really matter if you're a good singer or not. Just have fun, and then people will
But then on top of that, it requires a larger amount of discipline to be able to perfect certain dance moves and, you know, know the historical background of the dance and where the movements have come from and what the story is that each dance is trying to tell. So if people of New York are interested in learning any specific dances, they can actually head on to Tompkins Square Park in the East Village, where Dance Parade has actually put together different workshops and classes for people who do want to learn different types of dances.
And it is a perfect occasion to just take a look or take a peek of whatever they can offer, and you can determine what you're interested in, and then you can find those places around the city.
Yeah, so what entices you about this parade? Which style of dance is most interesting?
I'm really interested in the waist drum. I think that it also requires a lot of coordination. And also the tap dancing I mentioned earlier, I think it would be fun. The footwork is going to be crazy and it's really physically demanding, but it makes such a good sound also. It's like the footwork is really intricate to see.
I mean, it would make your legs really toned, which is also a good thing as a form of exercise.
That's true, but maybe then only your feet get toned, which is not good. But okay, what about you?
There's just so much that I would want to try. Things like tap dance, as you said, the flamenco. I've only ever heard about that. You know, I've never actually been able to witness it. But I don't think we've seen it yet.
Yeah, I want to see those flamenco dancers with their red dress or, you know, bold colored dresses that are really flowy and has a lot of ruffles.
And the costume, you know, there's like flowers in the hair. Yeah, it just looks very nice.
I think every day though, you can only see that in emojis. Yes, that's the only
the
place
lady in the red dress.
I know. I wish I could see them in real life. All right, so for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festivals. This is exactly the right event if you're looking to learn how to dance, and this is because they're showcasing 80 different unique style of dance from around the world. So whatever it is you're interested in, they have it.
And luckily, New York has provided such a great day. It's ideal for dancing. It's not too hot. It's a little cloudy, but that refrains them from sweating too much.
And also
especially because some of the costumes, it's
Oh my
full
goodness,
body.
I
Like we've
know.
seen some from head to toe. They're wearing masks as well.
Yeah.
They're wearing knee-high socks. So just imagine if it was like yesterday when there was this heat wave in New York.
And I saw some of those people with really just this grand costume with like wings and stuff. They must be really heavy. So if it was yesterday, I don't know what's going to happen to them.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see the costumes and how it relates to each country and each ethnicity. Like, you know, the hula, it comes from a very exotic, hot climate, and they wear typically the, it's
They
like
don't wear
a
much of
grass
anything.
straw dress.
Yeah. But I think the other dance form that's also interesting is the capoeira because, you know, it's a dance, but it's also a martial arts. So it's like a dance for a different purpose.
Yeah. So actually, let's explore the hula dance a little bit more and go to our reporter Holly, who's with one of the hula dancing representatives.
Hi there, I am with Amanda Foster, who is a hula dancer. I'm going to let her pronounce the name of her group. What is it?
I dance with Napua Maikalani Nuyoka.
Okay. She is from Brooklyn. This is her second year. She is going to show us a few basic hula moves. So, yeah, take it away.
All right, the first one I'll be doing is a kaholo. We're going to be doing this mostly when we're traveling down the street and need to move really fast, and it's a basic traveling step. So it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. And one of the other common hula steps we'll be doing as we're traveling when we're not doing our actual dance is called a hela, which is a point, so that we can be moving down the street as we do it. And we'll be doing that while our other contingency is dancing Tahitian. So we're representing all of the Polynesian islands, or at least some of them, Hawaii and Tahiti.
That's great. Okay, well, thank you so much, Amanda. And we will send it back to you guys in the studio and the parade.
Thanks, Holly. So that was Holly with Amanda Foster from the Napua Maikalani group doing the hula dance. And just a little fun fact, there are more than 100,000 islands in the Pacific Ocean, forming the 3 major islands that we know as Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia.
You know what's really funny or interesting is that, you know, island life, when you think of an island life, it's this very relaxing, laid-back type of life. So you can see that it's also being displayed in their dance moves, like because they go like this. It's like just so mellow and just so relaxing.
Very fluid, very graceful.
Yeah. The other dance that I find really interesting is also Tibetan dance, actually, because when you see the dancers, they have really this like really long sleeves, really flowy, and they really play with the sleeves, and also it gives you a glimpse of their lives because Tibetan climate can be tough. So the sleeves can also be worn during winter time or also during summertime, where you can just, you know, fold them over and then it becomes short sleeves.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's an extension of your arm, and so when you dance with it, it flows and creates this movement that you wouldn't be able to create with just your body.
Exactly. So I think the other one, though, that we really haven't seen here, but I want to, is the roller disco group.
Do you know how to rollerblade?
I don't. Wait, no, I used to.
You used to? As in the 2x2 or the one in the line?
The ones in the line.
Okay.
So is that roller disco or is that a different thing?
I'm thinking the roller disco, they actually use the more vintage roller skate.
The 2x2. Yeah.
Like Xanadu times, you know, the disco kind of times.
Yeah.
Wow, look at this footage here that we're seeing. Such vibrant, bright costumes. And it's interesting, different dancers have this sort of isolation of the body where like they just move the hips and the rest of the body is static, you know, and it creates this really interesting image. and movement. How do they isolate the body like that? So we're seeing 80 different styles of dance unique to their culture and their heritage that are being performed on the streets of New York today. There's 10,000 dancers on the street, all in their traditional costume. And these dances range from modern contemporary to the more traditional types of dances that really tell the story and the background of each country. So here we're looking at the belly dancing, and once again, belly dancing really requires that isolation that I was talking about. You know, they have their hands moving one way, but their hips are doing another thing.
That takes your dance skill to a whole new level.
Right, and it emphasizes kind of the torso area and how they kind of move the legs and the hips, yeah, in their own separate way.
So I wonder if there's a different, or there's a certain type of dance. If you're a total beginner, what kind of dance can you learn first in order to kind of boost your confidence, and then you can move on to the
Interesting,
more
like
difficult
the level of difficulty for each dance? That's an interesting question. I wouldn't know because I've only participated in maybe one dance in my life. But dancing, I think you can learn to dance, but the ones that do it really well, they're able to understand the actual movement and express the meaning of that movement, and also be able to understand the music in a way and move to the music. Because you know, you see people dance and they're good, but then there's people that really dance, and it's because they really just like feel it in their body.
So it's the difference between, you know, you're showing the movements from this dance versus
to really
actually
understanding it.
Right, the essence of that dance, the essence of that performance and what they're trying to convey.
And I think that's what we are talking about in terms of history, you know, understanding the roots of each dance and the historical background, where it comes from. And so in knowing that, you're able to display the meaning of these movements in this type of dance. So this is more belly dancing. And up till now, we've seen such a vast array of dances and costumes. We've seen people on stilts, we've seen people utilizing drums and also hula hoops. And there was also that pirate ship that we saw before.
Oh yeah, I mean, this event is such a great event. It's such a great platform to introduce all types of dances to one another, you know, because they show historical dance styles as well as new and modern ones, and they connect cultures and different types of generations. Because, you know, a teenager would be introduced to, for example, tango, and senior citizens would be introduced to hip hop through this event. So it is just an overall great platform.
Right, and the dance parade is really trying to focus on educating the people of dance and how it's a form of expression. It adds and ties to emotional and physical health, and we saw that with the Falun Dafa parade, how they incorporated meditation and drumming into it, and also to educate and empower the people to really showcase their cultural heritage and their backgrounds and you know, the story behind that.
Yeah. And actually another organization who's trying to use dance as a form of, you know, just promote healthy lifestyle is called the Art of Stepping, and this organization is dedicated to the fight against childhood obesity. And they're really trying to fight this growing epidemic through this unique art form that utilizes the body as an instrument. So they really turn the body into an instrument.
And dance is fun, so it's not like you're going to the gym and doing this strenuous exercise, right? Like dance is, it's almost naturally occurring.
Yeah.
And I remember when I used to go and dance, it would build a sweat, even doing these graceful movements.
Yeah.
You know, it requires much more dedication and precision than you just see to the eye.
Right, and when you're doing it with other people who share that same interest and who share that same passion, it's just,
Yeah, you really do feed off the rest of the group. You know, if other people are high energy, you have no other choice than to be high energy as well. So it's just this great feeling.
Yeah. And actually, that's what the dance police are trying to do.
Right, they're trying to instill people to jump on the bandwagon, get excited, be encouraged to dance. So I wonder how many tickets they've issued thus far. And I think this parade is really symbolic of New York as well.
True.
It's of people of all different backgrounds. They come from all over the world. They're of all ages. And they're just all chiming in to this community event to stand for their culture and their heritage.
I mean, the makeup of New York as a community, it also represents people from around the world. So this is perfect.
Right, you never feel like a stranger in this city.
I wonder if they're starting to get tired at this point of the parade.
Right. It's been 2 hours since the official starting of the parade, where they cut the banner, and they also had a 1 minute of silence dedicated to the people who can't dance.
Yes, but they can't be tired yet at this point because after the parade, they will still need to go to Tompkins Square and they will need to perform and give performances to spectators who might have missed the parade.
Yeah, so at Tompkins Square, they can actually learn different styles of dance and participate in more performances and things like that.
Yeah, they might be able to take some classes there too, so it's a more intimate setting.
So the parade is actually making its way down Broadway and spanning across Broadway down to Union Square and into the heart of East Village.
If you just start watching our broadcast, you're watching the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festivals, and you'll be able to see 10,000 dancers parading down the streets of Broadway at Union Square, going into the heart of East Village, and also eventually into Tompkins Square Park. That's when you'll be able to see more performances and also take some classes if you're interested in them.
Right, and the theme for this year is Dance for Peace. So dance is obviously an art form. It's a form of expression from different people and different cultures of all around the world. So it's such a great message, very relatable to people, you know, so people of all ages should be able to participate in dance movements.
Yeah, and don't even try to hold back because, you know, it just feels liberating when you don't really care.
Yes.
Just start to move.
Especially when you're within a group of like-minded people with shared interests, or even people of the same culture, like we're seeing here. And the 10,000 dancers are actually making their way down Broadway on foot, but on top of that, there's also floats that are an addition to the dance, where dancers are also able to get on and perform some techniques like the tap dancing we saw, and also the meditation.
Right, and earlier we saw Maurice Hines, which is an actor, director, singer, and choreographer. He is known for his legendary tap dance performances here in New York on Broadway. And we saw that some of the kids there, they were dancing to Stevie Wonder's song.
Yes.
Such a beautiful and such an uplifting song.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting that some of these dances utilize contemporary and modern music, like, you know, the tap dancing. It incorporates jazz techniques, and jazz is obviously a contemporary form of dance, and the dancers are now making their way through Astor Place, which is the middle of the parade. And now we're actually going to hear what the public has to think.
Right.
So we're going now to Holly.
sidelines with Emma, Michelle, and Lydia. And this is your first time seeing the parade, is that right? What about you?
First time for me.
First time for all of you. And what do you guys think so far?
I think it's very interesting. I like the cultures. It's very, it kind of opens your eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite yet?
I like the Chinese dancing.
The Chinese dance. Any troupe in particular?
Yeah, I think they're all very great. I enjoy all of them.
Okay. Do you think you'll be back next year?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Okay. Okay, that's all from the sidelines. We'll pass it back to you in the studio and at the parade.
All right, thanks, Holly. So that was Emma, Michelle, and Lydia, and they're on the site watching the parade today. And one of them did mention that it is an eye-opening experience to them. And for me, I know for a fact that this is also an eye-opening experience because you get to see all different displays of culture, and truly you get to learn about all these different type of dances and how they originate also, because they have their own stories.
And what other time do you get to see not just one dance, but 80 unique styles of dances all in one, setting?
Right.
So they're now bypassing Astor Place, St. Mark's.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, they're doing the splits.
Can you do the splits?
I used to be able to do the splits. And actually, I remember I used to cry over the stretching. Because, it was easier when you're young because your joints and your muscles are more nimble and they're more flexible. But the older you get, the more chronic pains start to set in.
But at least you could say that you used to be able to split, so.
And I think that's something that we take for granted with these dances. It requires a lot of training and just dedication to perfecting each dance move and knowing the meaning behind each of the moves that they're actually performing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think knowing the reason behind each movement or the reason behind each dance styles is a really powerful thing because it makes you appreciate the dance on a whole nother level, and you try to really do your best to portray the dances and to portray that culture.
Right, and it's interesting to see how dance has added to the culture throughout the times. It's like, for example, tap dancing. Tap dancing used to wear clogs as a form of shoe, which was made from wood because back in the day, they didn't have things like Converse and things like that. But over time, they've incorporated not just like these hard material shoes, but also soft, more like ballet type of shoes.
So the other type of dance, which I think has a really interesting beginnings, is that the capoeira Angola is actually one of the many cultural weapons used to break the chains of enslavement in Brazil. So we're noticing a kind of pattern here. We talked to the Bolivian dance people, and they also shared a similar history.
Right.
So the capoeira combines fluid dance-like movements with kicks and headbutts. So it looks more like a martial arts
It's actually really interesting because I always attributed martial arts with, Asian kind of cultures, martial arts, kung fu, things like that. But the capoeira is a Brazilian type of martial arts. And as you said, back in, what day? But the West Africa, they started to bring over slaves, particularly from Angola, into the Brazilian regions. And as a form of self-defense, that's how the capoeira dance evolved.
Right.
And they couldn't express dance as a form because they were suppressed in that way. So they kind of hid beneath this kind of dance form. And it's really interesting because they used to carry weapons while performing these things.
Oh.
Yeah, in their hats. Just to reiterate that it is really self-defense back in the day.
So that goes back to the fact that dance is a form of self-expression. It's however you want to express yourself.
And also the transition of how it was once this kind of form, but now it's in movies even.
Right. And usually, you know, when there's a hit movie that covers a certain type of dance, it reignites the public's interest in that type of dance, and they really want to learn more about it. So it has a nice and really positive effect.
Right. Just to emphasize the storytelling of dance, it's not just, you know, movements with no meaning, it's a story.
Right. So we're actually now going to head over back to Holly, who is there ready to speak with some of the spectators that are watching the parade today.
Okay, so I'm here on the sidelines with Soma, Wilma, and Laura, right? And you're from Brazil and Ecuador and El Salvador, right? Okay, so what do you guys think of the parade so far?
Oh, it's great. I love it. It's so colorful and there's so many dances, but sometimes the music, it makes it more lively.
Oh, this is my first time actually, and I am enjoying it a lot. And this is very typical of New York City. You always find, you know, this kind of activities where you can just enjoy your day, and I love it.
You think you'll be back next year?
I think so.
Great. And what about you? What do you think?
Hi. This is my first time, and I really enjoy. It's a great experience to see all the different type of dance.
Do you have a favorite style?
No, I just love them all.
Okay, well, thank you guys. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio and the parade.
All right, thanks, Holly. They're basically, one of them said the right thing. This is so New York.
Yeah.
This type of activity can only be seen in New York, where you see a display of cultures from around the world.
And how are you supposed to pick, you know, what your favorite is when there's just so many different costumes, different dances, dancers from all ages, and there's 10,000 dancers who are involved in this event today, displaying 80 different unique styles of dance. And one of the bystanders was Brazilian, and before we headed over to them, we were talking about the capoeira dance, which is a Brazilian form of martial arts dance.
And like you said earlier, you know, violent kicks, or because it's martial arts, and it is also because they were not able to dance at that time, they had to hide some of the movements as like a dance form. So it's really, it was a really hard time for them, but at the same time it shows some vigilance from these dancers.
Yeah, and a lot of the dances we're seeing today really require a high level of athleticism and coordination and dedication. I think that really symbolizes what dance is, to understand the message that you're trying to portray, the image through the costumes, and just the whole, you know, they were talking about the energy of the music. So it's just this whole rounded extravaganza what we're seeing today.
Yeah, and it goes really well with the theme of this year's annual dance parade, which is Dance for Peace. And it is actually the mission of this organization, Dance Parade, to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form, because they get the people together, they get people really excited and really on board with what they're sharing.
So they're now making their way through Astor Place, which is the midpoint of the parade, where there's a grandstand, so the members of the public were able to actually sit on the, what do you call it, the bleachers? Yeah, and witness specific dance performances.
And I think that the grandstand provides the best vantage point to just watch all these different groups that are passing by.
And the dance groups will be making their way through and stopping in this particular area just for a little bit longer so that they can show more a choreographed routine. That wing detail is so pretty. Very festive.
Very
The energy
festive.
is high. And it's interesting because each dance, obviously it's tied to culture, and so some of them are more homogenous in formation. They all follow the same routine, whether, and then opposed to other ones where they're more individual and people can just kind of freely move around and travel through the parade. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, so speaking of that style, actually, Scottish dance has that kind of style where in one type of Scottish dance, people move in groups or in pairs, and then on the other Scottish Highland dance, it's more of an individual dance performances.
So let's hear what the CEO of Dance Parade has to say.
So I'm here with Greg Miller. He is the founder and executive director of the Dance Parade. So Greg, what was the impetus and what is the goal of the parade for you?
The impetus, I suppose it started about 11 years ago, and it was actually a reaction to the state Supreme Court ruling that said dance was not expressive, and therefore the cabaret laws, the anti-dancing laws, kind of continue. You need to have a license to dance in a lot of the restaurants and bars from Prohibition times. So that's how we started. We said, hey, we're expressive as dancers. We want to show 80 unique styles of dance. And that's why everything you see today will be very unique and different cultures, kind of a United Nations of dance.
So you have 80 here today?
Yes, we have exactly 80. I counted them all. I have the program here, which is kind of crazy. You can see in the very fine print.
Oh yes, wow. We've got a lot of groups. I see 167, is that right?
That's right, and every other one will be a unique style of dance.
That's great. Do you know how many people you're expecting total today?
Close to 10,000.
Wow, okay. And is it growing? Is this a bigger number than last year?
It is. We do have a lot of Chinese groups actually, and that is growing. We try to keep it at 10,000. It's a nice round number, and it's the city's largest dance event. So we don't need to be like the largest of the largest. We just want to keep maintaining and keep the size. The theme this year is Dance for Peace. So that is something different and unique, and we're going to celebrate that by raising our hands in the air at 12:59 and kick the parade off at 1 o'clock.
That's great. Okay, and there's also a festival, right? Tompkins Square Park?
Right. The parade ends on St. Mark's in the East Village, and that is at Avenue A. And Tompkins Square Park is there with 4 stages and dance lessons and music and all kinds of wonderful cultural activities, site-specific dances. So you're walking around through the park and then you see, oh, what's that? Oh, it's Zimbabwe dance or something like that. So.
And if you miss the parade, that's going to be 3 to 7 o'clock, is that right?
That's right. So you can show up in Tompkins Square Park around 3 and there'll be music everywhere and you'll be dancing before you know it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Greg. We'll send it back to you guys at the studio and the parade.
So that was Holly with Greg Miller, the founder and executive director of the Dance Parade. And Dance Parade has put on this great event. It's been going on for 11 years now. Today is the 11th year, and we can see now there's ballroom dancing happening, maybe some sort of salsa, and people of 80 different unique styles are showcasing their dance today.
Yeah, those steps, even though they look somewhat simple, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was just researching some of the steps and the forms, there's all these different types of beats that the steps either are in or out of the beat. And there's all these half-step kind of beats. So it's really interesting, like, and also the tempo and pace of each dance requires a lot of coordination.
So when you're performing that, there has to be just so many things that go in your mind. You know, you have to dance with your partner, make sure you don't make any mistakes, and you have to keep smiling for the spectators.
But the thing is, I feel like when you really know the dance moves and also the meaning of the dance, it just really comes naturally. You don't even have to think about it. It's like a motor skill almost because you just feel it. As Greg was saying, it's a form of expression, and they should be allowed to express this art.
Yeah, that's true. They should be, but then unfortunately, like he said earlier, this event was in reaction to the cabaret law, which is no dancing law, because back then in 1920s, people are not allowed to dance, especially in public places, unless they have cabaret licenses.
So this is their way of saying, no, we are an expressive form. Dance should be able to be done by anyone. So what we saw now was, I think, the qi pao.
Right.
And I remember you actually wearing a qi pao. Can you describe to us what that attire is like?
Oh man, it's very form-fitting.
It is.
But also, when you put that on, you just feel a little bit more gracious than
feminine.
You actually are. Yeah, it just has that effect on you.
Yeah. People in China as well as Vietnam, they all have different renditions of the qi pao. And you normally wear that in traditional settings.
Right. Doesn't it remind you of 1930s in Shanghai?
Yes, the Shanghai women, when it started to get westernized.
Yeah.
And they started embracing, the qi pao, and the men were wearing suits and cigars because it was a mix of culture at that time.
Like what you're seeing today is also a display of different cultures from around the world, and you're watching the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival brought to you by NTD TV live broadcast. We are broadcasting live from New York City, where 10,000 dancers are parading down Broadway at Union Square, making their way through East Village, and they will eventually end at Tompkins Square Park, where they will stop and then showcase more dances for you. If you miss it, you just head over there. And also, if you're interested in any type of dances, you can head over there and then take some classes.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour parade of non-stop dancing from 80 different styles of dance, and people from all over the country and the globe to showcase what their heritage and what their ethnic backgrounds are all about.
I like how the dancers are still able to maintain such enthusiasm, such level of energy throughout the parade.
I think that's what the crowd actually assists in, you know?
True.
The clapping, the smiling faces. You have no other way than to just power on, even if you are feeling signs of fatigue or anything like that. That's why there's things like the parade police officers issuing tickets or summoning people to the after party. Actually, that's something we haven't mentioned much of. There's an after party for the parade, and I guess after the parade, people can still keep on dancing.
Yeah, that's why the dance police officers have such a significant role in this parade, because they keep the crowd hyped up, and they just keep the crowd, they let them, have fun and just let loose and just enjoy what they are seeing here.
This is one of our favorite jams playing in the background, Justin Timberlake. And it's great to see people of all ages participate in this event, because dancing is for everyone.
Right. And the clogging connection competition team that we saw earlier too, we saw this little girl who was really enthusiastic to be in New York for the first time, and also to perform in this parade for the first time. So you can just see her oozing this happiness.
And just then we saw they were bypassing the grandstand, which is in Astor Place near St. Mark's area, which is the midway point, and members of the public were able to sit down and really enjoy choreographed routines from one of the 80 dance styles that we're seeing today.
Yeah, as opposed to standing on the street and watching them just pass you by, but then at the same time, if you're standing or you're sitting on the grandstand, you can actually watch their performance for, I don't know, a minute.
Yeah, and they're giving you more attention. They're actually stopping, slowing down a little, and really facing the crowd and being like, this is what we're all about. This is, what my dance is.
Like, look at me.
Yeah, look at me.
But I think
But really is a display of cultural diversity.
Definitely.
And what better background than to have it in New York?
I like to put it in the way that, you know, we're taking you around the world in a couple hours.
Yeah.
So.
Around the world in 2 hours.
2 hours. We're also learning about different type of cultures. Like we said earlier, some dances originate from tough times when people are being put into slavery, but at the same time, they also come out of it, you know, victorious.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of historical roots in dance that I think are often overlooked. You know, when you think of dance, you just think of what you see and what you hear, but actually there's a lot of history that's tied to it.
So I think the next one we follow is the Dafa. So you can tell him we don't move now.
And it's nice to see that the heads of each group actually carry their own flag.
Right.
So it's very nice to see. It's like their own community. And
Yeah.
actually scattered throughout New York, there's a lot of community groups that offer things like dance workshops for free. You can also join, you know, contemporary dance and enroll for little to no cost at all. Some are free, and that's one of Dance Parade's mission, to spread dance as a form of art, a form of expression, and a healthy way of living almost.
Absolutely. And I just think that it's a good way to kind of spend your time and then gain some new skills. And at the same time, you can also let go of your frustration and just be free and be...
Make some friends as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure the people we're seeing now, they're all best friends. Because you're all tied to this engaging art of dance.
Yeah, and you share the same mission.
And the mission and the theme for the dance parade this year, the 11th year, is actually Dance for Peace.
I can see why earlier the grandstand is such a coveted spot. You can really enjoy the performance for about a minute, and you reward them, you just interact with them.
It's actually such a great intersection.
Yeah. There we go.
And as you can see, it's a concentrated area, and it allows people of the public to witness all these dances. So as you can see, they're now halting in the parade to do a little musical number. Wow.
That was the Circling Beavers. All the way from St. Louis.
Wow, so they're all the way from, where did they say?
I didn't catch that. But it's interesting because obviously this event is unfolding in New York, and one of the dances that originated from New York City is actually hip hop, and specifically in the Bronx region. You know, we've seen a lot of movies trying to tell the story of this, but obviously it's changed just to attract a mass audience. But what we were talking about before, the historical elements of dance and slavery, hip hop, like what we're seeing right now, actually emerged due to the tougher times up in the Bronx area. And it was a way for the youth back then, in the 1970s, to kind of escape the inner city gang violence. And that's how things like MCing, DJing, and hip hop dance all evolved.
Interesting. And you can say that they were very energetic and they're very lively.
Right. Yeah, and hip hop was a way, it was an outlet for the youth back then to stay away from gangs and drugs and bad things like that and dedicate their energy to a form of dance known as the current hip hop.
And I love how they just have their own swagger to it.
They do,
It's hard to-
totally.
if you don't have it, you just don't have it.
And this is one of the more extravagant costumes we've seen doing their musical dance piece at the grandstand.
Wow, awesome. What beautiful dancers, what beautiful outfits. But the sound guy's very sweet. Thank you.
That was such an interesting mix of, you know, traditional costume versus this music.
Yeah, it's like almost a fusion. I've never seen that before.
But I mean, I guess, you know, moving around in that costume is already a feat in and of itself, you know, walking down the streets.
And it's great to see that the parade is going through the grandstands for the people of the public to witness.
So what you're seeing here is a Tinku dance, which is a Bolivian Aymara tradition, and it began as a form of ritualistic combat, and it is one in which men and women from different communities will begin the festivities by dancing. And the story behind this cultural dance is that a long time ago, the Spanish people, they made indigenous people their slaves, and this is what Amanda was telling us earlier as well. This is kind of nowadays they're doing this dance kind of in a mockery way, but then also at the same time it also serves as a reminder of what happened back in the days, and it's part of their history now.
And it's very energetic, it's very colorful. You can see in their costumes. And the music is very upbeat as well.
Right.
Even if you are tired, you probably wouldn't notice because of this, you know, upbeat music playing in the background, kind of urging you on. So we're now seeing a younger group of dancers.
And if you just start watching, what you're seeing here is NTD TV's live broadcast of the 11th Annual Dance Parade and Festival here in New York City. It is an event organized by Dance Parade, a nonprofit organization who is striving to promote dance as an expressive and unifying art form, and they are showcasing 80 unique styles of dance from around the world.
And unique it is. Can you hear the bells coming from the shoes? Or the costumes of this dance.
Yeah.
I really love it when some of the elements of dance are incorporated with, you know, bells and like Bollywood dancing, there's bells and things attached, or even drumming as we've seen.
Yeah, and that makes it, you know, you spread out the dance, like as in you don't just focus on one part of the body, but you dance with your whole body and your whole heart.
Yeah, you are an instrument. Kind of like the form of dance called stepping, which uses claps and they use body movements to create these beats, as well as using their shoes on the floor, kind of like step dancing to kind of create a rhythm and a beat for them to dance to.
Yeah, and they usually dance in a group, so you also have to interact with the other dancers and make sure that you're in line
Yeah.
and no one is stepping out of line.
Yeah, because you'll definitely hear it if one person is out of order. All eyes on you.
Here we can see another float getting ready to pass the grandstand.
Ooh. I really want to just applaud these young dancers for, going out there, being brave and just showcasing their heritage and their culture.
And actually, that goes to all the dancers because this is not an easy feat. You have to dance for 2 hours straight, and then after that, you still have to perform at the festival. So it's not an easy job. But you can see that they're all passionate about what they're doing here.
Definitely passionate.
And the crowd also helps them in just to kind of support them to keep going.
So right now we're seeing the Falun Dafa group who we interviewed before. They're a meditation practice, and on the float they actually have a beautiful float with a lotus flower, and the lotus flower is actually symbolic. A lot of Buddhist teachings, and it's a symbol of purity. It comes out from these murky waters into something beautiful, and it represents purity as well. And we can hear the music along with this float is very serene, it's very calming, which is something that meditation is able to instill in the people.
Right, and this is quite a change from the ones that we've seen earlier, where the music were really just energetic, but this provides a sense of peace.
And we can see the really vibrant gold satin attire that they're wearing, followed by drummers, I believe. They're wearing, they have waist drums.
Right.
So I think we're seeing now more and more people are adopting the kind of meditation way of life.
Right.
Especially in a city like New York that's always on the go. It's very hectic. There's hardly any time to really just sit and be at peace with yourself and really just absorb who you are and everything like that. So right now I think they're demonstrating a standing exercise.
And meditation just allows you to kind of listen to your own thoughts and then be in tune with yourself. And like you said earlier, when being in New York City, people are just so busy running their lives every single day. So it's great to just take a few minutes to just be.
And a lot of what has to do with meditation is kind of freeing yourself from thoughts. Thoughts that you develop within your own mind, occurring from everyday events that you kind of get torn over.
You get torn over and you agonize over.
Right.
Like you see this thing on the shop and you want to buy it, that kind of thought.
Exactly.
All right, so now we're seeing the Falun Dafa waist drum group coming up on the grandstand. This waist drum is from Chinese folk culture, and it's mainly performed at festivals for celebration and other happy public gathering events.
And it's really interesting because these waist drums are played on both ends. So the choreography of these arm movements factor in that there's two sides of the drum.
Right.
And sometimes they'll be played simultaneously, sometimes one at a time. And it's strapped onto the waist area with silk, with a green silk, it looks like.
You can see that the steps are not just your regular steps, but they kind of match it to the beat of the music as well. And this waist drum performance, it's energetic but also graceful at the same time. All right, so in a little bit, we're gonna head over to Holly, who is going to speak with Amir Talai, representing the Falun Dafa group, to give us more information about the group.
So I am here with Amir Talai from the Falun Dafa group. So Amir, what is Falun Dafa?
Falun Dafa is an ancient meditation practice. There's 4 standing exercises and a sitting meditation similar to yoga, and it adheres to these universal principles of truth, compassion, and tolerance.
So the exercises you're talking about, is that what we're seeing behind us?
Absolutely. They're actually practicing the standing exercises, and you see them actually, 2 of the practitioners are actually doing the sitting meditation as well. They're fairly simple to learn, and there's videos on the falundafa.org website, but they really have significant benefit in terms of your health.
What are these practices? What do you call them?
The exercises. Well, there's 4 standing exercises. Buddha showing 1,000 hands, which is one of the exercises where you'll basically are stretching to open up energy channels.
Is this like Tai Chi?
It is similar to Tai Chi in that you might look at these exercises and see similar types of movements. The key here that differentiates Falun Dafa from some of the other Qigong practices or practices that you might think of in terms of Tai Chi is that it really refines what would be the Qi, the energy, to something which is higher level in terms of Gong. The reason is because it's not just a physical exercise, it's something where people try to improve their heart and mind nature.
That's great. Okay, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio and at the parade.
So thanks, Holly. That was Holly speaking with Amir Talai from the Falun Dafa group. And we just saw their group passing over the grandstand. And now we're back to stilts.
Wow. That is next level balance we're seeing right here.
And they've been doing this.
And I was just gonna say, keep in mind, it's been 2 hours that they've been on these stilts. Once again, if you're just tuning in, this is the 11th annual dance parade here in New York City, where the theme of the event is Dance for Peace, and it just emphasizes that diversity of cultures and ethnicities here in the city that we're able to put together this event.
And I have to say that we're really lucky to be able to live here in the city where you can find really anything and everything from around the world.
People from all races, all ages and backgrounds. But what really interests me is the historical element of dance, because up until now I really just watched it, didn't really know the story behind it or where it evolved from, but there's a lot of just story and background to each of the moves and how each dance has come about. So we witnessed things like ballroom, Bolivian dance, Turkey, the Sufi whirling dervish.
Right. So for the past, 2 hours of broadcast, do you have a favorite now that we've kind of seen everything?
I think it's hard to pinpoint a favorite because each dance is unique to its own culture and it's all so different. We're seeing more up-tempo dances, and then we just saw the Falun Dafa group with their drumming, and it's more toned down.
Right, right.
So it's just very different. It's like comparing apples and oranges. You can't really...
Yeah, it's really hard to compare. It's basically just a feast for the eyes. So looking at the performances that we've seen so far and what they offer, this is such a great parade, or this is such a great event put together by the Dance Parade. And I'm really happy to be able to learn all this different culture, different type of dances that we've seen so far. Like, my eyes are satisfied.
for the eyes.
My ears are happy. My mind is full. So it's all around a great event.
Right, and it's really great to see that people stand behind their culture and really display their culture in a way that we wouldn't be able to witness anywhere else.
Yeah, so we'd like to thank the parade organizers, the dancers that are in this parade, sharing their joy and passion with us. And we're also glad to be able to share this with you guys, our audience from around the world.
Yep, so the dancers are going to be making their way into Tompkins Square Park in East Village, where there'll be more performances, more dance classes and tutorials for those who are wanting to learn the dances that they see.
Right, unfortunately we have to sign off pretty soon, but thank you so much for watching and we'll see you on our next broadcast.